In this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at game objects and sprites. So remember that a game object is a container for components. These are fundamental basic building blocks of our game. They can be anything from characters, props, scenery, even your camera within your game is considered a game object. On the other hand, we have sprites. So sprites are a type of game object. Specifically, these are 2D images or animations within your game environment. So to be clear, every sprite is a game object, but not every game object is a sprite. Now for this lesson, we're going to focus specifically on primitive sprites. In the materials folder of your unit, I've included a link to an article in the Unity documentation on primitive sprites. So the type of primitive sprites that you have are triangles, squares, circles, capsules, isometric diamonds, hexagon flat tops, hexagon point tops, and 9-slice objects. There are two ways that you can create a primitive object. So the first way is going to be to select the game object menu, click on 2D object, sprites, and then choose whichever sprite you're looking for. And then you also have the option to rename it. Another way that you can create a 2D primitive sprite is going to be to right click inside of your hierarchy, choose 2D object, sprites, and then select the sprite that you want. Let's just say that I have a lot of different game objects on my game, or I'm far away from where the objects are, but I want to edit this house base. By double clicking on the name, it'll zoom in immediately to wherever that sprite is located in your game. Another thing that you can do with your game objects is going to be to change the color. That can be found in your inspector. One thing that you'll notice about this particular sprite is that my triangle is technically behind my square. This is because Unity uses a concept of layers. If you've used Photoshop or Illustrator, you kind of already know what layers are. So in your inspector, specifically under the sprite renderer where it says order in layer, you can change what layer that sprite appears on. So the higher the number, the closer it is to the camera. The lower the number, the farther away it is. So if I were to change this to a 1 or any other number that's greater than 0, then my sprite appears in front of the lower level sprite. As part of your scene view, you also have a toolbar that lets you manipulate the size, rotation, and position of your sprite. The pan tool is what you can use to move around on the screen. The next tool is your move tool. Clicking on the square will allow you to move it freely versus using the arrows. The red arrow lets you move on the x-axis. The green arrow lets you move on the y-axis. With your rotate tool, you can use these same colors to decide what axis you want to rotate. The scale tool is used to uniformly resize your sprite. The rect tool gives you a little bit more freedom as to how you resize your sprite. And then if you want to just use an all-in-one tool, you can use the transform tool to do all three, where you can move it, you can resize it, and you can also rotate it at the same time.